The official explanation is Treacher-Collins syndrome, which again in most cases is actually shape-shifting. In the top middle photo, her left eye is triangular, and in the bottom photo, she's removed all of the texture from her skin, so it looks like a plastic model. In the top left photo, you can see that the mother is reverting neck creases, and in the photo on the right, you can see that the sister's neck is elongated. So once again, the secondary shape-shifting tells you that she's a Dirac as well. This is another one who chose or was chosen to make a lifelong commitment, at least in this quote-unquote human lifespan. This is a Dirac that's generated the appearance of old age while in the form of an infant. They simulate human aging with their polymorphic ability by changing the skin texture and tautness, the hair color and fullness, and the shapes and sizes of the features, so they can make themselves look younger or older at any time. They could be infants with elderly faces, or elderly individuals with young faces, or they could be elderly individuals with the bodies of 20-year-olds, which I've seen a few times. It may look like a human infant, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's an equivalent age in its natural state. This could be an adult Dirac. We know that they can compress to much smaller sizes, so I wouldn't be surprised if an adult Dirac could compress to the size of a human infant. If this is actually an infant in its natural state, it shows that they have full control over their polymorphic ability from the time they're born. This child imitation has generated a mask-like protrusion from its face, which extends from the upper lip to the top of the head. It created this appearance by extruding the tissue straight out along a sharp edge, removing all of the texture from the skin, and increasing the hardness and reflectivity. So it looks like it's wearing a plastic mask, but it's really part of the face, made out of living tissue. Even for someone who doesn't know anything about Diracs, they would have to question how this is naturally possible, because it's not possible. Nature would never create this. However, for a Dirac shapeshifter, it's easy to do. They could all generate this appearance spontaneously. This one has drastically altered its human imitation form, but you really can't say it's deformed, because its face is symmetrical and consistent. It's just not a human face. Of course, the green skin is a giveaway that it's a Dirac. It's also partially reverted its eyes, as you can see that it has slit pupils and green sclerae. The neck is clearly elongated, and creases are visible in the photo on the right. It's moved the ears onto its neck, and that's further proof that it's not human. Human ears are cartilage, and it's always attached to the bone, so you can't have ears on your neck if you're human. This Dirac's ears are just shapes molded out of skin cells. That's why it can have ears on its neck, or anywhere else on its body, anywhere there's skin. Again, this could be an infant in its natural state, but it's more likely that it's an adult Dirac, given the degree of the shape-shifting. The Diracs can spontaneously create simple forms like this one, but complex and detailed forms like a human face and body have to be designed first, basically using computer modeling programs. The form data from the program is encoded into a biological format and then imprinted into their cells, perhaps the DNA. This imprinting process is probably electromagnetic, but that's just a guess on my part. Their cells now contain the new form code, which will allow them to physically morph into their human imitation forms. So you're seeing a 3D computer model of a human body, realized realized in physical form. Everyone you see in the media, that's what they are. You're looking at 3D computer models made up of living cells. It's not too different from character creation in a video game. You choose a base model and then adjust the individual features to create a more unique appearance. But no matter how much you change the features, you find that characters based on the same model all tend to look similar. The eyes, nose, and mouth may be different, but the overall shapes and proportions of their faces are the same. That's why there are so many lookalikes in the population. That's true even among celebrities and politicians, who are chosen for their more unique appearances. Now I'm going to show you examples of these lookalikes from the celebrity population. Hilary Swank on the left, and Missy Peregrine on the right. When I read names, it'll always be left to right. They have the same overall facial structure and proportions. The only differences are their eyes and the ends of their noses. And Hilary has a taller forehead due to the hairline being higher. Their eyes may actually be the same. It's just that Hilary has folds over her upper eyelids, which changes the outer shape. They also have the same eyebrows and hair shape and type. Remember that their hair is skin cells formed into fibers, so the shape, length, style, and color is determined by the imitation code as well. Michael J. Fox and Scott Wolf. Fox and Wolf. Get it? Same overall facial structure and proportions, same mouth and basically the same eyes, and they have the same hair shape as well. The only significant difference is the end of the nose. The bridges are actually fairly similar. Jennifer Carpenter and Hope Solo. Same overall facial structure and proportions, same nose and mouth, and similar eyes. And they both have epicanthic folds over the inner corners, which are common to Asian races like Chinese and Japanese, but very rare among whites. They also have the same eyebrows and hair shape. Other than eye, hair, and skin color, the only notable difference is that Jennifer's nose is shorter, which makes her upper lip area taller. Lucy Hale and Selena Gomez. Same overall facial structure and proportions. Their eyes and the ends of their noses are different, but the rest is pretty much the same, including the hair shape. They have the same base imitation code, but they changed some of the features to make one look white and the other Hispanic. Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Javier Bardem. Same overall facial structure and proportions, similar eyes and mouths. They even have the same eyebrows and facial hair. The ends of their noses are the most notable difference. Anna Greichwitz and Maggie Gyllenhaal. Same overall facial structure and proportions, same mouth, similar noses, and slightly different eyes. And again, same hair shape and type. Ian Somerhalder and Rob Lowe. Same base imitation code with similar features, mouth, nose, and the eyes are almost identical. Heather Graham and Jayma Mays. Everything is practically the same except for their noses. They also have the same eyebrows and hair shape. Amanda Seyfried and Dakota Fanning. Same base imitation code and similar features, but there are differences which keep them from looking identical. Amanda's lips are bigger, her nostrils are more upturned, and her eyes are farther apart. If you just changed those things, they'd look exactly alike. And once again, they have the same eyebrows and hair shape. Evan Rachel Wood and Alexandra Breckenridge. Their noses and eyes are somewhat different, but everything else is the same, including the eyebrows and hair shape. Kareena Kapoor and Paris Hilton. Here's another cross-racial imitation code. Except for their eyes, the rest of their features are very similar. Kareena's nostrils slant up more, but that's really the only other difference. With their eyes covered, it looks like it could be the same person with a tan and changed in hair color and style. Dustin Hoffman and Francois Cluzet. The ends of their noses are completely different, but other than that, they're very close. Judy Greer and Anne Heche. Same base imitation code, but their eyes and noses are different. Khloe Kardashian and Joni Lore, China. Another Indian and white cross-racial code. Of course, they're really the same race, both dracs, but that's the appearance that humans see. It's alien cells generating shape, texture, and color. It has absolutely nothing to do with human genetics. Helena Christensen and Cameron Diaz. Except for their noses, they're quite close. It's definitely the same base imitation code. You can also see that Helena's reverting the creases at her neck. Nina Dobrev and Jenny Farley. Slightly different eyes, noses, and mouths, but they have the exact same facial proportions. They also have the same hair type and hairline. BJ Novak and Juan Martín del Potro. Their hairlines are different, and BJ's eyes slant down to the outside. But if those were changed, their faces would be almost identical. Renee Zellweger and Joey Lauren Adams. Renee keeps altering her facial code, so she doesn't look like this anymore. But at the time this photo was taken, her code was very close to Joey's. If the hoods over Renee's upper eyelids were removed, their eyes would probably look the same. Brad Pitt and Benicio del Toro. Again, if the hoods were removed from Benicio's upper eyelids, their eyes would probably look the same. Other than that, the ends of their noses are somewhat different, and Brad has a bigger lower lip. Those are the only notable differences. Caroline Forrest and Matt Bellamy. Sometimes they use the same base imitation code for male and female imitations. To adapt it to a female imitation, they typically make the eyes larger and the nose and jaw smaller. That's exactly what they've done to create Caroline's face from Matt's face. Other than that, the only difference is that Matt has that projected bulbous septum. Kathy Griffin and Martin Short. Kathy's jaw is smaller, and her eyes are a bit larger than Martin's, but apart from that, they didn't change much, and their noses are almost identical. That's why Kathy looks like a man in drag, because she's using a male imitation code with weak adaptation. R.J. Mitt and Kendall Jenner. This appears to be the opposite case. A female imitation code adapted to a male imitation. His nose and jaw are larger, and his lips are smaller, but the facial proportions are very close, and they have the exact same eyes, which are obviously meant to be female eyes. Todd Rundgren and Liv Tyler. This is more of an androgynous code, which works decently for either sex. Liv has bigger eyes and a smaller nose, but their faces are basically the same below the nose. Billy Corgan and Kirsten Dunst. Kirsten's nose and jaw are slightly smaller, but everything else matches. The shapes of the features are exactly the same: eyes, nose, and mouth. They have the same crooked teeth as well, which you don't see here. This code appears to be originally intended for male imitation, but it adapts decently to a female imitation.